time?
It certainly feels like a really important moment. It feels like a time when, you know, survivors are finding their voice and people are sort of like, you know, and I include myself in this, really discovering the extent of this problem, you know, here in our country.
Ben Affleck, who's apologized for his own previous behavior, speaking on the Today Show as allegations against Al Franken, Roy Moore, and several other powerful men have sparked an important debate and the Me Too movement, with women coming forward sharing their stories. But a new article in the Daily Beast caught my eye. It says we are dangerously close to botching the Me Too movement. Erin Gloria Ryan writes, quote, "Privately, I have been worried that we are cruising toward the Me Too movement's tripwire, the point where a public's means that opportunists could exploit the movement and bring it all crashing down, worse off than before, and then stories of sexual misconduct will again be relegated to cocktail hours and DMs. Feminine ghost stories women share with each other, with the knowledge that the demons torment us still lurk in corner offices." This is an important point, and one I haven't known how to address, and I'm glad we're going to. Joining me now, legal analyst Midwin Charles, and back with us, Elise Jordan, former advisor to Senator Rand Paul. I'm anxious about this topic, but I'm also worried about it. Is there a risk? Not that every single Me Too story doesn't matter, right, but is there a risk that it gets exploited here and it goes too far and it loses its purpose?
No. I read the article, and I don't agree with it, for the most part, because when women and men decide to come forward to allege sexual assault or sexual abuse, it's a huge step. It's a huge undertaking. And most men and women don't do it. Why? Because we've seen how many times these people have been discredited and how many times they've been treated as though they are liars or they are trying to take people down. I think it's very rare for someone to step forward and make these allegations. And also, the one thing I do agree with that she said in the article is that if someone is lying, it is very easy to pick apart those lies. At some point, they are not going to be able to withstand the questioning and the sort of interrogation that comes through when someone makes these kinds of allegations. So I don't necessarily agree with that. And I also think it's very dangerous to sort of start to suggest that there should be a 10-step way that a woman decides or a man decides to come forward to, you know, talk about these kinds of allegations. It's almost as though she's suggesting, well, let's do this in some sort of measured approach. Perhaps we should have a meeting and discuss how we're going to, you know, decide.
I think what she's saying is this is such an important topic. We don't want it to turn into white noise. How do we make sure things actually do change?
But I just don't think that's going to happen.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you look at social movements and social progress and how, you know, these seismic moments happen. Roy Moore the other night in his rally gave a pretty big dog whistle and said, well, in 1965, we started giving out too many rights in reference to the civil rights movement.
Oh, God.
So this moment is about
I'm sorry,
rights,
Alabama.
and about fundamental decency and about respecting all Americans as equal individuals and who are responsible, who have the full process of the rule of law. And I think that we can't ignore what women have been going through, I mean, really since the beginning of time.
That is true. You know, I want to point out there's some conservatives that are actually voicing caution about lumping together allegations against Al Franken and Roy Moore. Fox's Britt Hume tweeted this quote. It stuck out to me. Franken has basically admitted what his accuser said, and he apologized. Big difference from Moore. And conservative commentator Amanda Carpenter tweeted this: "What does the Senate Ethics Committee have to investigate about Franken? We got the story, the photo, and an apology. How important is it to make sure we don't lump all of these cases together?" I mean, these are two conservative voices who are saying that. And, you know, President Trump, who said, let's see picture 2, 4, 5, and 6, we've never heard that there even are any.
Exactly. But you know, President Trump should not be weighing in on something like this. He sort of lost the ability to discuss this when, you know, we unearthed the Access Hollywood tape and those 15 women have come forward. So he's not credible on this subject at all. But apart from that, I think it's interesting that they've made those comments. He has been very different from Roy Moore, and he's also done something that Roy Moore has not done and that a lot of others have not done, is accept responsibility. You know, I read his apology and it was contrite. But I think as a sitting senator, it is important to look into whether or not this is something that he does regularly? Are there other women that he's worked with in the Senate where this has been a problem? So the only reason why I think an investigation is important is because he is a sitting senator. He represents the people from the state of Minnesota. And it ought to be made clear whether or not this is a problem that's ongoing with him.
You know what ought to be made clear? The $15 million in harassment claims from this slush fund that the U.S. government paid out. Not only do I not want to be harassed, I don't want my tax dollars going to our congressmen and women who have to have settlements because of harassment that amazingly get covered up and we don't hear about. I'd like to hear more about them, so please come on forward. Ladies, thank you. We're going to take a break. The president